I work for the Yukon-Koyukuk School District as an instructional technology coach. And then I'm also one of the leaders here for the Google Educators Group of Alaska. Looks like it's some of your first times here, which is super awesome. What I love most about these meetings and these groups is it's super informal. You know, we're connecting with educators across the state or people like Nikki that I've never actually met in person. But when we come on these Zoom, like not these Zooms, these Google Meets, it feels like we've known each other for a while and we can just kind of, you know, relax, share our truths and just kind of have fun while learning cool Google stuff at the same time. So it's a very laid back environment, which of course it should be because it's 7 o'clock at night and you guys are all choosing to be with us, which is super awesome. So thank you for coming. I know Tana says in our PJs. I'm actually sitting in my bed doing this because my husband has the rest of the house and because it's comfy. So if I'm going to be here at 7 o'clock, we're going to be comfy. So in the chat to start, how about you guys introduce yourself, where you're coming from, what school district you work for, and what you do for that school district, just so we can all kind of be familiar with who's here. Yeah, so hey Tana, Nikki, several Fairbanks people here with us today. Yeah, and also if you have a Twitter handle, feel free to share that as well so we can connect on there. There is hashtag AKEdChat, and a lot of us join in on that as well. So dropping your Twitter handle in there is awesome too. All right, so today we're going to get started. What we're talking about today are gifts. And our holiday theme, it's the gifts that keep on giving, shall you say. And before we move any further, I want to ask you guys this question. So how do you pronounce it? Because I may be pronouncing it wrong, but that's like the mountain I'm going to die on because I eat Jif peanut butter, so these have to be gifts for me. I can't combine the two. How do you guys pronounce it? Which one do you choose? Do you pronounce it like the peanut butter or is it gifts?
I flip-flop because I just don't have a clue. So I think it depends on who I'm around or what I'm trying to say, but I also have an almost 13-year-old son and he never corrects me on it. So he doesn't even know. So I'm just going to say I'm right, depending on the mood I'm in.
Yeah, totally. Brittany said she's a hard G. I am a hard G as well. Tana says she doesn't say it because she's afraid she's going to be wrong, which honestly, I was really surprised that with our little GEG Alaska slogan, where it's like the gift that keeps on giving, like that nobody like trolled us on that. Like, it's not GIF, it's GIF. But happy to see it looks like we're all GIF people in this group. So that's super awesome. Also in the chat, how many of you guys use GIFs, whether it's just for fun on your phone or in your classroom? How many of you guys use GIFs? All right, Sean and Helen, not so much. Nikki says yes to exclamation points. Leola, I see you're raising your hand. You can go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying yes.
Oh, okay. Yes, so she uses GIFs as well. Ooh, Sean, now memes. I see. Now, the cool thing is with memes, I love memes as well, but GIFs most of the time can be animated memes, which at that extent, how much cooler is that, right? So just to put it simply, for those who've never used it before, they are just animated images. So like you see here, we have the little Home Alone theme. And it's just, you know, makes your image pop a little bit more, just kind of to make things look more visually appeasing. And to go with that, there are two ways you can, I guess, create or use GIFs. And the first is to kind of spice up your presentations, like, or I know for me, for example, I use them a ton, like personally, and like text messages or like on Facebook, because some responses just warrant a GIF and a funny image instead of like an actual response. So if you don't want to create your own GIF and you want to find them to say include in your presentation that you have with students, A website I use is giphy.com. And then once you go there, if you look at this little animated GIF that I've created here, you go to the website and then there is a link that you can copy. You copy the link from the GIF on the website, you come back to your slide deck, and in your functions, you go to the insert image by URL, and then it comes up into your slide as that animated GIF. So you can see here in my GIF, I'm copying the URL, coming back to my slideshow, adding it under insert image by URL, and then it's going to pop up there. And then for this, I chose The Crown because if anything, if there's a Netflix show that I've been binging, it's been The Crown. And I know that they say it's fiction, but it's really hard to take it as fiction. I feel like it's all truth, and I absolutely love it, and I wish I can go live in Windsor Castle, but that's probably never going to be a reality for me, especially now with COVID. But if you go on Giphy, there are tons and tons of different things that you can search to put these different images in your presentation. I know for me, with district staff, I make a lot of comparisons to movies or different things. So I'll look up, GIFs for the specific movies that I'm referencing and then include them in there like that, just to make it more relatable and more exciting instead of just staring at a screen with a bunch of words. So the first one is Giphy. Second, Sue says she still doesn't have Netflix, but once she gets Netflix, she's going to be going on Giphy and looking up all of those Cobra Kai GIFs and sending them all over AK EdChat. So you're going to have to do that once you get it, Sue. All right, next way, and probably the way that I use the most professionally, is creating my own GIFs. So there's lots of times where I field questions on how to do certain things, whether it's how to add things to my Google Drive, like how to send an email, whatever it may be. So I use Screencastify, and instead of recording a video and then sending the link, I actually download it as a GIF. And then in my presentations or in my emails, you can see my screencast is now in animated image form, and it'll just constantly replay for everyone. So in Screencastify, to create a GIF, you will just go to, after you create your Screencastify, to download, export as a GIF, download GIF, and I am super lazy in the fact that once I've downloaded something on my Mac, I just drag it to my presentation. Like, I don't know what it is about me. I would rather screenshot an image and drag it and then have it, instead of having to go to insert image. It just seems like so many less steps. So that's what I do. So I create a lot of GIFs using that. Do any of you guys use Screencastify, or have you used GIFs on Screencastify before? Yeah, if I were to show you guys my desktop right now, you'd see 1,000 screenshots. And most of the time it's the same one because it only stays in the corner of my computer for 5 seconds. So if I don't drag it fast enough, instead of going to find it on my desktop, I just screenshot again and go from there.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. It's a race against time because you're like, dang it, I have to get it before it disappears. And yeah, I do the same thing.
Yep. All right. Yeah, so it looks like some of you guys already use Screencastify. Now, Tana says not for GIFs. Laura, do you use Screencastify for GIFs as well, or just kind of for the video recording or screencasting?
I just use it for recording, and my students use it for recording. No GIFs.
Nice. Yeah, it is a nice little function, and I'm going to talk about 2 ways that I use it within YKSD, and then Nikki's going to go and talk about a few ways that she uses it with her students. So first thing, probably you guys have all experienced this now, being in virtual meetings, district-wide meetings, staff meetings, whatever it may be. Something I've learned just working in YKSD is that I really don't like doing live demos over video conferencing for 3 reasons. First, the district broadband in our villages is not great, so there is a huge lag to where something that I'm doing on my screen for a live demo takes 5 seconds to appear on the other screen. And then if my talking doesn't match it completely the same, it's really hard to follow. And I've gotten feedback that it's really hard to follow. Second, on top of that, is in our district, we have teachers who are not as comfortable with technology. So if my voice is not matching what I'm saying the screen should be doing, they get really confused as to what step I'm on and have a hard time piecing back the information together with the lag that we have going on. And then the last thing is, anytime I'm in a meeting, I want to provide takeaway resources. So if I'm doing a live demo of something, they see it there, good and great, but if they want to go do it on their own later, they have nothing to reference back to because I did it in a live meeting. So I like to use GIFs to kind of show those live demos and what I'm talking about. So if they want to go back and look at those later and digest it at their own time, they're able to do that. So in this little video, it was just a demo of how to sort emails into different labels and go from there. So it's just a quick, easy thing that people can come back and reference and follow on to. Tana asked, what is the file type of GIFs? Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but is there anybody else? Yeah, I know. Sue says, is it just like .gif? I'm not really sure.
I think that's how I save it on my computer. It just automatically downloads like that.
Yeah.
But if I go to Chrome and I just like Google search like, you know, GIF timers, because sometimes like I'll use those for my meets for students, not to get too far ahead of where we're at, but like I'll just download a GIF from, you know, the visuals that you can find in Google. And when it saves to my computer, it saves as a JPEG. But then I can upload to a slide as a GIF. So it's weird.
Another reason why I love just downloading and dragging it, because then I don't have to worry about picking the right file type. Penny says, how long are GIFs? I thought they were really short, but a tutorial video. And that's super, super important and a really good point, because when I'm making GIFs, you're right, they are very short. So I can only do select things as, you know, GIF demos and not absolutely everything. So like, for example, in this video, it's just showing one step of how to drag an email into a label. I wouldn't do it if I was trying to explain a really long process or something that requires a lot of speaking. So it's kind of selective things that you choose to do it for there. But I like to do live demos to insert just into my like slideshow presentation, visuals of what they talked about, of what we talked about, sometimes one or two things so that they can reference in two different videos, and then kind of pair it with an explanation in case they don't really need the visual as well. And then the second thing I use it for is just when responding to emails. So say, for example, we have a shared Google Drive in YKSD, but sometimes it's hard to remember where the shared Google Drive is or how they can access it. So this is me just showing how to access the shared Google Drive. So it's something really quick. It's something easier to see visually than for me to say, okay, go to your drive, click on Share Drive, click on YKSD Teaching and Learning. Being able to just visually see it really quickly is easy for the, I guess, audience to capture. And then it's just easy for me because I have this GIF saved. And anytime somebody asks me about the Share Drive, or anytime I reference, hey, there's this new resource in the Share Drive. By the way, if you need to remember how to access it, here's this video or here's this GIF kind of showing how to do that. So it's something I reference a lot, but I don't have to recreate it every time I go to reference it. So Penny, you're totally right. You definitely have to think very carefully what you're making GIFs for, because the more you try to include into it, the more confusing it's going to be. So you want it to be kind of small, digestible chunks for people. And an example of that is there is this lady on Twitter. She is a Google for Education certified trainer. She may be an innovator as well. And her website, which if you guys can confirm, you can see it, because I don't remember if I've shared my window or just my Chrome tab. Can you guys see it? Okay.
No.
Let me switcheroo real quick. Okay. So the way she utilizes it is she has all of these really quick tech tips on her website, and it's just doing really simple things on Google. So things that may not warrant a YouTube video or things that need a lot of explanation. So she has tons of them on here. So you can just go on this website and, you know, if you're looking to do something really quick or kind of see what she has available, or like, oh, adding hyperlinks to slides, that seems cool, you can watch and see quickly how to do it, but it doesn't require any explanation. So I thought it was really cool how she does this, how she makes a huge kind of resource or hub of just GIFs for people to go on and look. Because I know I am very guilty of, if I want to find something, if I watch a YouTube video, if it's more than 5 minutes, honestly, to this point, if it's more than like 1 minute, I'm not really wanting to watch it. So if I can just quickly look at these GIFs to pick up the concept really easily of what I want, that saves me a lot of time. And then for me, if I don't need that 100% walkthrough, it allows me to get that really quickly here. So that is just another cool way, like on the coach side, that you can use it as well. All right, so now moving to Nikki.
All right, so I'm trying to remember what that one was. I don't remember exactly what that one was. I think, so how I use it, I have a lot of like really, really self-sufficient kids in my 4th and 5th grade, but I don't want to just like leave them off to their own devices. You know what I mean? So like I'll make GIFs usually just like as a reminder, like don't forget to turn this in kind of thing. Like here's where you turn it in, or, you know, here's where you go find your resource for this specific assignment. Because with every lesson that I post for them, I post video directions as well. So I have, you know, the quick GIF like go to for the really, really meaty, like important part for everybody to see. And then I've got the extra support of like a detailed video lesson for the kids that really, really need it. But usually like Chelsea was just saying, it's really something that's just very, very simple, quick to the point. What do I have on the next one? Yeah, so Jamboard. So I don't know what it is. I use this thing all the time, but my kids are like, how do I get to the other slide? And I'm like, we use Jamboard every single day. So my thing with them is I will always, and I repost the same GIF if I need to, just showing them how to use those front and back arrows to get to the other boards, or how to do the drop down and access it quickly, just things like that. Because then it takes, I mean, you know, reminding kids during our meetings maybe takes 30 seconds, but it also can like totally derail my lesson, and I already have limited time with them. So I post stuff like this in advance. Like if you don't know how to access your slides or your, you know, Jamboard, you know, your different boards, then please, you know, go back and watch this GIF or watch your directions, you know, things like that. I don't want to spend all of my class time, which is really limited online. I don't want to spend all that time giving directions. So for the few kids that need it, these are things that I will use GIFs for. And it's also like, you know, just the different types of tools. So I've used it, you know, not only with Jamboard, with docs and slides, just making a quick one about like, remember how to get to, remember how to make the shapes in Google Drawings, you know, stuff like that, that they don't use every single day, but that doesn't warrant me using class time for, you know what I'm saying? Okay, what's the next one? Let's see. Yeah, this is just like how to access tools. How, you know, how do I access my, you know, sticky notes, or, you know, the highlighter and things like that. Very, very short and sweet, to the point. And see, I've demonstrated like on that one, handwriting, and then how to get to a note, and then how to type. Yeah. The one on the left there was just like how to, chat, because I have a Google Chat for all of my students and we use it all day, every day. So here's how to find me in chat. Here's what you need to do. Here's how to look up a person. And then the one on the right there, sending an email. So, again, it's just kind of that reminder for students that only need a reminder. My kids are not going to watch when I post video lessons, I really keep them short anyway. But like Chelsea was saying, if something's over like 1, 2, 3 minutes long and I only need this much information, I'm not watching your video. And so I have that same respect for my kids, because I'm not watching your video if it's really long. If you give me just what I need, then I'll look at that and I'll take it and run with it. And that's what I do with gifts here. I always create my own. I do try to find fun ones, like I was saying, to put on slides at the beginning of my Google Meets. I will find them on Chrome. I'll just type in GIF timers. And so one could be like a rainbow with like raindrops or something. There's lots of cool timers. And so I'll download that, I'll put it onto a slide, and then I'll just share it on my screen at the beginning of a meet. And it's kind of just like, waiting for Miss Fisher. And it's got this like thing that will go around and around just to kind of show that time's passing, right? So I don't know. I just kind of use it to break it up and do different things for them. But it's fun too, because they're 4th and 5th grade. I don't know about using it for much younger grade levels. I haven't had any experience, and I haven't talked to anybody that uses it for younger grade levels. So I'd be interested if anybody has, or if you had any thoughts on that, because I would love to pass it on to my colleagues at school. But I think the 4th and 5th grade and above, they're like right at the age where they're kind of into this type of stuff and into the memes and everything anyway. So you like kind of have them hooked to begin with. So is there another one after this? I can't remember if I did. No. Okay. Yeah, you pretty much said all you needed to say. Like, it was very, very short and sweet. I don't have a lot to add following Chelsea. Sorry.
No, I think you nailed it. Like, the great thing about using GIFs is you're not going to move all of your instructional pieces onto GIFs. But like, for example, as Sean said, he gets asked about the Zoom update all of the time. So instead of, having to write an email every time or spend class time or whatever it may be, reminding people how to do the Zoom update, you can do the quick GIF and then just send that along. So kind of for more of those housekeeping things, little short nuggets that can help people with that. Do anybody have any questions or comments about anything GIF related?
I was going to add one. I will take no credit for this. A teacher at our school created this. Yeah, he's texting me to say, yes, you may share it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to share it. Okay, that's fine. So, because I told him he should come, but he didn't. Okay, so he did it for extra credit. He had done this in class, and then told the kids, hey, if you want to do extra credit, create an inertia hat. And then he reminded them what his looked like. So here's his little extra credit, da, 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 da. But then he reminded them the 2 hats that he made and then put them in, it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't a video and it wasn't a YouTube anything. It was just, here are the 2 reminders of the ways that he had made his hat. So
yeah, and it just gives the overall idea. Like, I would look at this picture and be like, oh, okay, I need to make that. I don't need the written direction. You know what I mean? Like, of course you want them reading written directions, but without a short little visual, like, some things are just totally lost on me.
Yeah. Yeah. And if the kid for some reason missed that day in class, then you would hate for them to not be able to do the extra credit just because they didn't show up that day. So anyway, I saw this and I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure that I share it because I didn't do it, but it was a great idea.
Isn't he a new teacher to your school?
Yeah, he's student taught at Lathrop last year.
That's awesome. Everything I've heard of him, my school is right behind Tana's, by the way, for anybody that didn't know. So we're the little kids and we feed to them. So,
yeah.
Yeah, so everything I've heard of him is great. It would have been awesome for him to join.
He's
So tell him in
a
January.
technology asset. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. That's a great example too. And it's not that, like we've been saying, you know, we can't watch the 5-minute video or we can't read the directions. It's not per se really that, but I feel like all of us have been, you know, experiencing maybe overconsumption, or we're kind of at our maybe breaking point with the amount of things that we are consuming, that anything that we can make it a little easier or appeal somebody who I guess digests information or consumes information in a different way, to kind of cover all of our bases is super helpful. Yeah, and Sue says it could be fun to have students create gifts. So say, for example, maybe as a project, you can ask students, you know, like, what are things that we do in class all the time? Or, hey, you're really good at showing the student how to use Jamboard. Can you make him a quick gift showing him how to use it, or doing stuff like that? So then they're taking ownership over these projects, and then kind of reinforcing those rules, or those kind of, what are they called? Like routines that you have in your classroom as well. And then, yeah, it's a great idea to rotate through the new gifts of the same content. So if you're seeing it from another student's perspective, or maybe they internalize it a little differently and that shows through their gift. And then that might make it more exciting for students to look at them, because they're like, oh, hey, look, there's Nikki's, or oh, it's Brittany's, or oh, it's Tana's, or oh, it's mine. Like, look how cool my teacher is using my gift. So that could be a really cool experience as well.
I like the idea of it not having to have words. I think, like, my idea as we were going was to show kids how to check their grades. Like, they get off in Power School and they get in Unified Classroom and not same. I don't know how they do it, but like, I've kind of been stalling on making the video because I'm like, what do you say? Like, here, click on this, click. I like the idea of no pressure. I don't have to talk. All I need to do is click. But if you have a YouTube video, you're like people are thinking, am I missing something? Am I supposed to hear something? You know, I've like I said, yes, I think wordless is appealing for me as a video creator. But yeah, the wordless for young readers.
Yeah. And something like that too, like, all you need to do is get them to the point where they're logged in. They can navigate the rest themselves anyway, and half the time they're not even listening to like your actual directions. They click what they want to click anyway. So I don't care who you are, but kids see something, they're clicking. So yeah, just not even having to tell them, but like showing them, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's a good one, showing them how to get to their grades. And it's good for parents too. So on our, I don't have it up there anymore because it was specifically for a beginning of the year, you know, transition type thing. I guess I should have left it up, but there were a lot of things that I made for, like, here's how to get to your kid's classroom, and here's how to get to, you know, for parents, because they don't know, like, these parents, like, God bless them, they do not have a clue. And I mean, hopefully by this time of the year, they know now. But it's like, how do you get to Google Classroom? What is Google? You know what I mean? Like, that's half of the questions I got, you know, the entire first quarter. So being able to just show them, this is what this is supposed to look like on your student side, helps them a lot. So things like that are really good too. And they really only take like 2 seconds to make. Like, honestly, if you're not trying to make like a you know, 3-minute GIF, which I've made some that are a little bit extended before. I wouldn't say more than like a minute, but they're definitely longer than a standard GIF. But if I use Screencastify for mine, you download it and it's just like right there. You don't have to wait. There's no like buffer time. There's nothing. It's just like immediate. And then you just put it where you want it, onto a slide or in Google Classroom or wherever. And it's there. So it literally, the length of time it takes you to make it is start to finish. So.
Brittany, I love your idea of using GIFs on your school Facebook page for helping with tech tips when parents get lost on Chromebooks. I think that's a really great way, especially thinking, you know, what your school puts out on social media. How can that be visually appealing? And catch kind of the eye of your audience there. I think that's a really great way. And then Sean, does anybody know any solid apps for recording or creating GIFs on phones? Tana, I know one of us are going to have to follow up with Brian because he had do you remember in that meeting he had an app when he did the GIF on his phone and made it right then and there? So it does exist, Sean. So Tana's texting, his name's Brian Buffington, and we'll get you that answer when he texts back. So the second half of our meetings here, so how we kind of structure the GEG or Google Educator Group is the first 30 minutes is just like a presentation, but then the second 30 minutes we really want to open it up to anyone to share what they like to use with Google tools or any questions that they have, or just really how it's going to kind of build community among us, because we realize that sometimes it's not about all like consuming information, but it's nice to share as well. So is there anybody who wants to share just kind of how it's going for them? You know, we can start there. The week, I think all of us finished this Friday. I don't know if anybody extends into next week. So how you guys are feeling with all of that, how it's going, how your first semester has gone. Is there anyone who wants to share either over mic or in the chat, whatever you prefer?
That seems like a sign. I'll go ahead and share just a little bit. I work in the Matsu. We've been pretty much face-to-face the whole year, which has been interesting. My role as a librarian and kind of the building technology person has really been to, coming off of a quarter of remote learning that was kind of thrown together, was to try to help our building make that transition back into face-to-face learning, but to be ready at a moment's notice to go to remote learning again. And that's happened throughout the semester, not school-wide, but it's really like classroom by classroom. Like we'll have classrooms out for a week or two at a time. And those students are kind of flip-flopping in between, and I'm there to support the teachers in that role. And so, I've tried to push using as many of the Google Suite stuff we can to kind of try to build community, to support both, direct and also asynchronous instruction, and to try to merge a lot of different things. Like, I don't know if anyone knows this, but like we bought a whole brand new math and language arts curriculum 2 days before school started. So the Matsu K5 has the full localized version of the Florida virtual platform available to us, which we use basically as a core parallel. So when students are in person, they're mostly doing what we've done before, but we also have this to jump into if we need it, or if we want it. It's a little crazy, I don't know. So that's kind of where things are at in the Matsu right now.
What are your thoughts on that Florida virtual program, or what do teachers think about it?
As far as it's a decent online delivery platform. It's not the slickest product out there, but it's not bad actually. It seems that the language arts K5 program tends to be really intensive and expects a lot for students to do online, lots of writing. The math is much less intensive. So it's kind of this weird imbalance. Teachers feel like they're doing a lot of skipping for language arts and a lot of supplementing for math. I don't know. I mean, I went to look to help teachers do social studies, and all there was the history of Florida. So unless you wanted to learn about Ponce de Leon, there was no social studies available. I don't know if it's going to stick. It might just be a one-year purchase to just kind of have something available.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Sean. Is there anyone else who would like to kind of share just how it's going in general, or how you guys are feeling on the week before break, except Penny? I'm sorry, Penny, you guys have until January 2nd.
I can share. I'm always sharing. Let me see what I look like here, though. Oh, I can't even see myself. I went in the hot tub with my son. Okay, good. You can just see my head. I went in the hot tub right before I went on this, and I'm super tired now. But and I don't usually go in the hot tub. It was like a treat. I'm not living the leisure life here. Oh gosh, we're being recorded. But anyways, I was going to say a word of caution. When you think you're doing the right thing and saying yes to 2 student teachers, you might slightly start dying inside during a pandemic. I love my student teachers, but I'm juggling 2 student teachers during a pandemic and a new position. So it's been really odd because I'm planning lessons. And then normally, like, I would already have my curriculum and just have the student teachers do that. But if I plan something I've never taught, it's really weird to say that, okay, now you go ahead. This is real weird juggling act. And I have 2 awesome student teachers, so I'm really lucky. But I'm starting to like get tired. That's my story. It's like, anyways, I don't know. Has anyone had 2 students before? I'm not saying this is a badge of honor. I'm asking if anyone else is this insane.
I've never heard that before. Is like nobody else qualified to take one? Like what's
No,
That's what I didn't even know that was allowed.
yeah.
well, there was just, it was a weird thing. And sorry, I want to clarify, because it's in the middle school, there's other people, but I'm like the main supervisor. But I have one at UAF and one at UAS. And we're all a happy family. And they both have science degrees. And I'm teaching science, and my background is not science. So I have to really know my stuff, like really know it. But just my last thing I will say is today, this is how I like to teach science: by dancing, running around the classroom, laying on the floor, pretending I'm a really good dancer and singer, and I'm not. And all the kids were speechless. Like, if you want a room to be quiet, do bad dancing. And that's where I'm at. Okay, so that's my check-in. And I know the record button's on.
Yeah, no, hard pass. Not doing it. So you must be faking it really well, teaching science.
I love science, but I'm like spending so much time researching, like making sure it's, and oh, just to add to this, don't forget it's my husband's old class. Like, I live with the former teacher who still teaches in the building. Anyways, I promise I'm done, but it's all good. I'm loving life. I'm just saying, if anyone feels like taking 2 student teachers during a pandemic, give me a call. We'll talk.
I wouldn't even take one at this point. Like, I want to keep myself alive. I am not responsible for anybody else's like stuff. No, I've got my students and me, and that's it. Oh man. Good for you though.
Yeah, I'm feeling like Sean, like trying to keep the boat going, in the library with the tech support and the staff and the, how can I fit in the pieces? And, it's a weird time to be a librarian. I'll just say that. I don't sit around bored like I never do, but just different work.
And they can't touch the books. Get your hands off the books.
See, and we don't have kids in the building, So we have them put the book on hold. We put it outside for them. They pick it up. Then when it comes back, it sits for a week, and then we can shelve it and put it away. So
So-
we've actually had a decent amount of books checked out. It's been a good thing.
We haven't even implemented our checkout yet. Like we were starting to, but like, because, we use, librarian, we use all of you guys for everything, all of the SS staff, everybody does something. And so we've just used her and used her and used her. And like, we just have not been able to free her up to do like library things.
Yep.
So I'm glad that we're coming back in person, because like, we can't put it off anymore. Like library and PE, if we've got kids in the building, we better be doing it. Like, and they want to do it, but we've got to make time for stuff like that. And we didn't, and we should have, for sure. I think the checkout, virtual or not, is really beneficial, but good for you guys for doing it. We are not keeping up.
Now, when you guys think of like your Google Classroom or your Google Drive or your Gmail as we're, ending this semester, are there any things you guys do to, prepare your Google technology for the spring semester, or is it kind of just all translate? Like, what do you do? Do you do any sort of like in between semesters cleanups?
No, it's just a big giant mess. I don't clean it up. It's just a mess.
I was about to say the same. This year, so if you don't know, like in your URL bar, if you type like just docs new or slides new, slides.new or docs.new or jamboard.new, it goes straight to like a new doc or a new Jamboard or a new slide. So I do that now all the time, because I lazy drag my images to like my presentations. It's just so much easier. But now anytime I go to my Google Drive, absolutely nothing is organized. And as someone who used to be like color coding my folders and putting everything in the right place, now not at all. I just completely rely on like my search tools to find what I need, and just docs.new everything. Ooh, Nikki, you start fresh, completely fresh. Yeah, Brittany, I've given up on my Google Drive too, for sure.
Yeah, my dogs like keep freaking out intermittently because that's what dogs do. I start fresh. Like if my, whole grade book is starting over, my whole classroom is. I don't delete everything because I keep them, like I'll archive things, but like, I hand everything back to them in classroom, because then, they're the owner and they get to access their work whenever they want to see it. But I start a new classroom every quarter. I mean, it's neater. It's laid out better. I don't have to worry about like cluster or anything, but I'm very particular about my lessons too. So I mainly teach writing and science. So every lesson is under my science tab or my writing tab. And it's, science writing 001, writing, lesson 030. So everything is numbered. That way, when I tell a student you're missing science lesson number 17, they know exactly where to go. It's not named something crazy. It's not like nothing. It's very, very to the point. So that's how I want to keep it, because I don't, even though they're 4th and 5th grade, they need a lot of direction. I don't want to waste my time having to go, okay. And there's my dogs. So I'm done.
Does anybody else use the Google Classroom or plan on doing anything with theirs for next semester, or just continuing through? Can't speak.
I just continue through, but I have mine organized with topics and emojis, and like it's very well, I'd like to say organized. I try to every few weeks clean it up, and so I do not want to start again.
Yeah, our school is broken into 3 teams, and each team has one Google Classroom. And for the most part, it works pretty well. The only problem is if you ever need more than 20 teachers on the same classroom, that's the cap. Didn't know if y'all knew that, but that's the cap. And but it is, and I think the whole emojis and all those things have really helped them clean it up. But wow, starting over every quarter. Interesting idea.
I wanted to mention what Nikki put in the chat. She says she bookmarks her daily stuff, so the classwork tab of each classroom, everything is in her bookmarks. And something I started doing this year with my bookmarks that is super helpful that I don't know I've never done before was like make a folder of all the daily things, like a bookmark folder for all of the daily things that I open, like first thing in the morning. And then once I go click on that folder to open everything, everything loads and it's there for me, and I don't have to make decisions of which things I need to open every day. And it came somebody on Twitter. I wish I remember her name. She's a professor at UAF. So I'm the person that like eats the same thing for lunch every day. So then she was really sweet and tagged an article about President Obama wearing like the same suit every day because it minimizes the amount of decisions he has to make. So he only has to focus on important decisions. So now every time I like set up little things like all of my bookmarks in one folder to open automatically, or like my schedule send emails, or like scheduling Twitter or tweets for GG Alaska all at the beginning of the month. Anytime I do anything like that, I'm like a president. I'm getting rid of all the little decisions so I can focus on the big decisions. I'm like using technology to work smarter, not harder, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but I think for me, like all of the little things have really compiled on me this year, and something, that's maybe so small feels like just like a monstrous thing I have to overcome because there's so many more things to do or think about this year. Does anybody have any like awesome things they want to share that they've been doing with Google Tools that have worked really well, or things that maybe haven't worked really well that you guys maybe want to talk through or talk out with this group here?
I'm genuinely curious about Chromebooks offline. If Brittany would share how, like she said.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So here, I'll try and put my camera on. I'm like, I do it sparingly. With our district, I'm out in Hooper Bay in Bering Sea, and none of our kids have home internet. So when the district decided we have to go remote, we need something, because when we went out in the spring, we just sent home paper packets, and the district was like, well, that didn't work. It was ineffective. Kids didn't return anything, blah, blah, blah. Spoiler alert, they still don't return anything even though it's on a computer. But so the technology department combined with like our Power School coordinator figured out that with Google Chrome and all of like docs and slides and stuff, that you can set it so that it's available offline. Now, the reason that Google created that would be so that like traveling professionals could work on it in the airplane, or like if they were offline temporarily, and then as soon as they got where they were going, they could just resync everything and be great. We are really pushing it to its limits. So the only things that we can assign, it has to be in a, like I spent 3 whole days training teachers. We have Chromebooks for all the kids. We had to update all the Chromebooks because they were out of date. We got all that fixed. Then we had to log all 500 kids into each of their Chromebooks. We had to set all of their Google Drive to available offline. Then every time we add an assignment, even though the drive is available offline, we have to go in and mark that file as available offline as well. So when the kids get to it, they don't have internet. So they can type in drive.google.com and it'll take them to their drive and they can access and do anything that they want. And then they turn the Chromebook back into the school. And when we open it up, it syncs back to the student network and updates all of their stuff. So most teachers, like, it's a personal choice. Me personally, I go through my kids' Chromebooks one by one, and then I have to go into the classroom myself and turn in their assignments so that I know what's done and what's not done. Some teachers just look at, because then, you know, in your drive, you can see all the kids' assignments, because every time you create one, it makes one for them. Really hard because kids can't easily these. All they see, like, even though I have topics for like math and reading and whatever, it doesn't separate it by subject. It's all just in one big pile in their drive. So we've been having a lot of growing pains. It's better than nothing. But it can be really stressful.
And Brittany, I think you cut out when you were explaining, you said there's only certain types of assignments or like Google files that you share with them that work in offline mode, or do you like slides, docs, all of that work?
Slides, docs, sheets work. Forms do not. Forms, you have to have online access because it's like an instant submission kind of thing. So unfortunately, like, I create like a mastery quiz or anything like that to have them do. But that's the only.
Nice. That's good to know. I know YKSD, we've been debating, because our students don't have Wi-Fi at home as well. We've been debating kind of pushing out the Chromebooks for offline mode for when they do go home. And then our tech department was talking about creating like a cache server where we send certain websites out that they can access at home. But so it's good to know there's somebody with experience with that, because yeah, the logistics behind offline mode and coming back to the school seems really interesting.
Yeah, and
Is there
I'm curious. Well, that's what we've been debating. We have Chromebooks, and when it all started, I started investigating it, and what worried me the most was that I'm the person who wouldn't say GIF because I was afraid I'd say it wrong. I don't want to tell a kid, this is how you do it. This is how you do it on your Chromebook. You take it home, you do the work, you show up. I'm the one who's going to have the kid that goes, I did the work, but I lost it. And I want to know that it works and not, it works okay. So if it's a back and forth, and then if we come back to school, then we go remote, how can I continue to support those kids who don't have internet at home? And that's what I'm wondering, how that, if it's a daily thing, like, do your kids come back and forth every day, or are they gone a long time, then they come back? That's what I'm curious.
So each school kind of made their own plan. We usually do it 2 weeks at a time, so that they have them up Monday, turn them in Friday. The one thing that I found I didn't like was, like, you can put embedded videos and stuff into Google Slides to have the kids do. But if it's a Chromebook, it doesn't have a lot of like storage on the device itself. So what I did, and what the districts actually decided to do after I bought my own, of course, I got just how to do something, don't want to assign new stuff because who's going to teach it to them? So with the Jump Drive, there is a USB port so they can plug it in, watch the video, and then do whatever assignments so that I can do a bit more than just, okay, we're going to review stuff that you should already know. But yeah, you could do it every day. Like theoretically, my kids could stand outside the school building, open up their Chromebook, sync it, and then close it, walk away. So you could do it however you wanted. We just wanted to kind of spread out the time so that we didn't have people in and out of the school while we were on lockdown.
Yeah, and that's our issue is if kids come back, because they're talking about that they are. We've been out since March for the whole group has pretty much been out. We have trickles here and there. But that's what I'm worried about. If we get used to kids coming in and then they have to leave, how can I as librarian make sure their Chromebook works when it gets home, and then when they come back the next day, we make it turn back on? So I may have to ask you those questions. Okay, and our gift consultant said Wibble, WIBBL app, WIBBL. That is the he can't remember if he did the free. He can't remember what's free versus paid, but you can do a month for $5, create a bunch, and then cancel. So that's what Brian Buffington says. But thank you, Brittany. I will probably be in contact with you because that's one of those I want to do it right if I'm supporting the school and saying this is going to work.
All right, so it is about 8 o'clock, so it is time to go. Just wanted to say thank you guys for coming here today at 7 o'clock, the Tuesday before you almost go on break. I'm sorry, Penny, but we'll probably be wishing we have your break when you're there. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, January 26th. We kind of run the same format of 30 minutes of some sort of professional development or talking about a specific topic, and then the last 30 minutes dedicated to really whatever the group wants to talk about. And then since we do have some new people here, here are just some ways to connect with us, and I'll drop this link in the chat. We're on a Google group where if you have any questions, you can go and ask them at any time to anybody, any of our members, which we have 140 people in that group. So it's a really great resource to hear from Alaska-specific educators. We're on Facebook. You can always email us or follow us on Twitter. And then I'm just going to share this slide with you, knowing that I'm probably going to have to go back right now and change the permissions. So just give that a second. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming. I hope you guys have a great holiday break. You guys all deserve the rest for sure, and I hope you guys get that some time to unwind and relax before the start of the new semester. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you. Happy holidays.